Welcome to Shadows of Doubt, a detective simulator game where you solve crimes of murder, infidelity, kidnapping, and some others. You can also commit crimes yourself. You either play in a pre-made world or generate one of your own. Today, I will be generating one and seeing what happens. I am Detective Joe Jacobs, and this is my story. I wake up in the city appearing homeless. I take in my surroundings and steal food and scan fingerprints from the shack nearby. I talk to who I assume are friends or neighbors. I'm not really sure who they are though. They aren't very nice. I did just rob them though. I say good evening to a local vendor and continue on my way. Finding another barrel and a new friend, I don't speak. She doesn't either. I continue wandering around. I find a restaurant and stare inside at the groups of people together. When I suddenly get a call on the radio. A murder. I ran to City Hall to grab a case resolution paper, and then find my way to the victim's apartment. Enforcers made it first, so I must wait. I steal fingerprints on the door to our victim's apartment and wait for the enforcers to finish. I peek my head inside and see a bullet casing on the counter. My first clue. Shortly after, they came out. And when they had their backs to me, I slipped in and closed the door. I searched the body for clues and information about the death. Shot by a gun, 9x32. Died between 5:30 and 6:45. I tried taking fingerprints from the body, but it wouldn't work. I got stinky walking on the body, and surely not contaminating the scene. I went to other rooms in the apartment and found that their safe was open. I scanned for fingerprints and noted those down, type C and F. As I continued investigating, I found a nightstand. I found a note containing a password for the computer and the safe. In one of the other drawers, I found a business card, a potential name to the face finally, and a job location. I then went back into the main area of the apartment to look for more clues I had potentially missed on my first go-around. Moving into the kitchen first to grab the casing I saw earlier on the counter from outside. On the body again, I found a business card with a fingerprint type C, saying something about not having what it takes to promote someone. In the kitchen, I found some important things, and Shirley didn't commit any crimes of stealing the lady's money. I figured she didn't need it though, given the circumstances. I found her purse finally, a confirmed name to the face. More money and a key too, but anyway. There was also a note on the fridge from our victim, mentioning someone standing outside of her door, messing with mail, saying she knows who the person is. Is this a lead? Potentially. I will have to keep searching if I'm going to find anything concrete. As I finished up in the kitchen, I noticed another door tucked away that I had missed before. As I walked in, I noted that there was a computer to my left and a phone in the corner. I took the address book just in case I needed it again later in my investigation. I used the code from the note earlier to log in, and did some more sleuthing digitally this time. As I looked at her profile on the computer, the phone rang. I didn't answer it in time. I should figure out who was calling the victim. It could have been the murderer. I identified the last caller, took that information with me as a potential lead. I went back onto the computer to look through Vmails for any other leads. One sent to someone named Carrie's Petite, asking about if they were at their door earlier, and how it was the third time this week that someone knocked and no one was there. This could be related to the note we found earlier too, though. So I was so engaged that the silly bird clock scared me back to reality. Laughing at myself, I continued my work. Another from a coworker, Isabel Patterson, talking about a party saying that it's mandatory. The next was unimportant, while the final one in our list, again from Isabel Patterson. Taya, you saw nothing, okay? We never matched on V-Love, and I didn't indicate any particular preferences in my ad if we did. Right, Isabel? In my head, this sounds like a lead. Like a threat without noted consequence, or even much of a direct implication, but concerning, given that Taya was killed. I printed out and added to my board. I turned off her computer and light, and followed what I think is a roach into the kitchen to finalize my search in the apartment. Maybe this guy knew something. I wonder if it knew anything. I'll let it be for now. I tried one more time to gather her fingerprints before leaving, and it worked. I just wanted a solid confirmation of what her fingerprints were. Type F. In my brain, I noted I was searching for Type C. Whoever had Type C was involved. One last time, I checked her room to see if I missed anything. And yet again, a note to her mom. Except the interesting part for me was the part that was crossed out. It mentioned her stuff going missing at work, and some female coming around late at night. Our victim, Taya, tries to play it off as nothing, and says something about the city getting worse, but then it cuts off there. I was already locked in to finding Carrie's Petite, though, and didn't know if they were male or female yet. The plan in my head was going after Carrie's Petite, and then Isabel Patterson. Finally leaving this poor woman's residence, I stroll right out because the enforcers are a bit silly or something. I don't get confronted, and I go on my way. I then search the building for a security room, for a call routing box, or cameras. I find a door with a sign on it. I figure this should be it. I open it, and I'm greeted with cameras, and I see the routing box on the back wall. I go in quickly to avoid the cameras, and get to work on the lock. I found a few calls in and out of 102 Peterson Building, the address of our victim. I note those down and at what time. One of them was an unknown number though, so I don't know what to do there, but anyway. I plan on going to 502 Peterson, but accidentally set off the alarm while searching in a cabinet. I run away for some time to let the cameras forget about me. I decide to check around the back of the building to see if I missed anything, but find an entrance to another apartment that is disconnected from the rest. I break the door down and rob the place. Do some investigating. After my investigating, I went back to the main part of the building since the cameras seemed to have forgotten about me. I asked a couple of neighbors about Taya, and if they've seen anything odd. One said that she was dead as a doornail. I thought that was weird, but he's not wrong. The other one I stopped says they know her, and that they did see someone suspicious. Someone with long pink hair at an intersection of two roads, Fuchs Parade and Kyle Street, heading south in a rush. I note all of this down, but first stop at 502, since that was the original goal. The door gets answered by a man, unknown, not giving me much information to work with. I close his door and slam it into his face and knock him out, so I can take a look around. Figuring our suspect could be his roommate, I still go in, robbing the place as I check for clues, like the honest and good detective I am. I leave just as quickly as I entered, finding very little to work with, really nothing at all, other than he has a roommate by the name of Lottie. I figure she has nothing to do with it, given the fact that I didn't find her name anywhere in Taya's apartment. Neither of these people were Carrie's Petite. All for nothing. Leaving the building, I go to the intersection the neighbor mentioned, of Fuchs Parade and Kyle Street, to see if I can find anyone or anything of importance. I found a lockbox for the cameras, but I didn't think about the fact that there were people around before I started trying to pick the lock. I ran away from a woman that pulled a gun on me. And scrap that idea specifically, and go back to searching the intersection and immediate area. As I return to the search, I see a woman running with long pink hair. I accidentally spook her since I started following her. I intended on asking her some questions, but she didn't give me much info. I just wanted her name, so I gave her 100 credits. Amanda Rossi. I was a little creepy here and followed her home, since she fit the description and was close to the area I was notified of. I didn't think much of her, to be honest, but checked her out just in case. I stole her fingerprints off the door to make sure they weren't found at the scene of the crime. Of course, none matched. I knocked on her door for some time, ready to barge in. Someone came and sat by her door, so I decided against it. With my plans ruined, I then went on my way but kept her in the back of my brain. Anyway, I decided to go to the victim's workplace to see if there was any information I could gather there. It wasn't far from the intersection, so I checked it out. Revenue Tree Clerical. I picked the lock and snuck inside quickly, turning off the lights to hide from the cameras a little bit better. I ate some of the food I stole earlier from the homeless people and filled up a cup of water. I found a board behind the water with employee pictures and names. I found one of Isabel. I scanned the fingerprints next to her picture. Type C, a match from the scene. I check around the workplace to find any more clues and find a code for the doors and admin login for the computer system. I check Vmails on this account to no avail. I print the employee record of Isabel Patterson. She's my next person of interest since at this point I forgot about Carrie's Petite, and she fits the description given. I steal some stuff before I leave. As I'm leaving, I check Taya's address book. No Isabel. Interesting, because they work together and have a Vmail about meeting up. Something is stinky here, but that might just be me. I need a bath. I need to find out where she lives. I ask a few people around if they know the victim and our main suspect. They give some information, but one stands out in particular. The last guy said something about her being in the same area and being drunk as a skunk. Could she be drinking to try and numb her brain from her actions? Maybe. I rushed over to where he said she was last seen, given the time of night. I figured she could still be around. It was maybe around 11 p.m. She was last seen there at 10:30 p.m. I enter Whitmore Projects, ground floor, and ask who I assume to be residents if they know our perp. She was last seen near here. I think I'm close, but each time I've had a lead so far, it's been little to nothing. I throw my head up looking into the air for inspiration or for an answer. Nothing comes to me, but when I look back down as to not run into anyone, I see long pink hair. I initiated the chase. I stopped the lady and asked her some questions. It's her. It's Isabel. I found her at last. I also take note of the crumpled paper she has in her hand, wanting to take a look at it, but can't right now. She doesn't answer my questions, which is fine. I let her go and continue following. She stops in the city building. I find it odd with the time of day and the fact that she doesn't work there, but forgot there are toilets there. She leaves the toilet and I resume stalking. Back on Fuck's Parade, we arrive at a new building. Her apartment on the 6th floor of the Voss building. I hear keys jingle. She enters her apartment. I check under the doormat for a key just in case I need to come back without her home. Not gonna wait for her to come back to the door. When she does, I smash it in and knock her out. I need to be in here. I hurriedly check the apartment for clues. Isabel has Taya's number. I checked her body for evidence, a gun, and ammo fitting what we found at Taya's place. Fingerprints. Type C. Everything is starting to fit into place. I leave needing to get some handcuffs for her arrest. I wish I could have checked the note, but I couldn't. I get some handcuffs back at City Hall and race back to her apartment. In the elevator, I realized I was putting my case details on the wrong board. I really messed up on this one, though nothing I couldn't fix, surely. I'll get back to this later. On the 6th floor, I race out before the elevator even stops fully. I knock on her door, and as soon as I hear the lock start to be messed with, I shoulder check the door, knocking her out yet again. I pull her inside more, as to not be seen by the camera or neighbors, and place her in cuffs. I tell her I am arresting her for suspicion of murder, and she admits it. She thanks me, telling me she was worried she would strike again. I'm surprised at the forthcoming information, but then pry a little more. She makes claims that it was a business decision, and that she was dead weight for the corporation. A bad coworker, essentially, is why she murdered Taya. I fix my case board with the information that I need to resolve the case the best I can, and then head back to City Hall. Right before City Hall, I double-check my case and change a few things to help against her a little bit more, and then hand it into the case tray. Eagerly awaiting the results, thinking about the restaurant across the street with the beautiful fish sign. It comes back. It was Isabel. Though I think because I was moving things around so much between boards, the gun I selected didn't work for this one. It's okay. I still got everything else correct. It's time for a well-deserved stop at the Fish Diner. I ordered myself a cheeseburger and a starch cola, and quickly got to eating. After the burger, I put the garbage on the table and got called a jackass. And then told to stop that when I put my empty can on the table. What is wrong with people in this city? Anyway, I threw my trash away and left the restaurant, eyeing down the cashier as I did. I loved this place, but he was starting to sour the experience. As I walked away, I thought about my purpose in life. Why am I doing this stuff? Where's home? I remembered the diamonds I stole earlier. I needed to sell them so I could maybe get an apartment of my own in the near future. I ran to the nearest pawn shop, not thinking about the time. It was closed. I went and found the nearest seat so I could wait and got stampeded by people coming out of the store. I sat down, and as I waited the clock, a staff member came up to me and kicked me out. Which is my fault. I should have bought something. I then wandered the streets enjoying the dark, snowy weather. I found another bench outside to pass the time. At 7 a.m., I checked the store, still closed. I shoulder-checked the door out of anger and then ran away, passing more time until 8. But I got so cold, so I warmed myself with a fire barrel, sharing the moment with some random lady before checking to see if the store was open yet again. Still closed. More time. Closed. Right as I went to turn back to go back to my bench, a scanner report, another murder. My hunger and apartment can wait. I see enforcers running, so I follow them to the scene. I watch them attempt to make an entry. They aren't very good at this. After some time, they finally get in. I again check this door for fingerprints while they are in there and wait for them to come out. As they come out, I sneak in. One follows me in a little bit, but then forgets about me as I go through the bathroom and lose line of sight. I started my investigation. I enter the living room, the body circled by markings. I remember hearing rumors about them in other cities. I see a crumpled paper, a scrambled name it looks like. I find fingerprints on the paper, type J. Check the body, 9x32 gunshot wound. Died between 8 and 9:15, only a few hours ago. The victim has type Q fingerprints. I search his room for information. Workplace and a name, unsure if it's his name yet. A few notes, one with a password. I get on the computer and find his profile. Leon. I check his Vmail and notice a name that fits with the scrambled name. I think I found our person of interest in this case already. C. Jensen. Kaomi Jensen. The very last Vmail has their name. I check the address book for their name. Third page. It's there. I leave with the newfound information and pass right by the enforcer that started the chase when I first went in. I jump down from the railing and into the courtyard. I go and grab a case for him, and then make a quick stop at the pawn shop again. It's finally open. At first, it's empty. But then I hear an employee coming from a back room as I'm taking lockpicks from their case. I sell the diamonds for $3,600 combined. I stop at a vendor for a donut and continue with the case after. I sprint over and hop in an elevator and ride to the 10th floor. I stop at the wrong door at first, but ask the neighbor some questions. They confirm that the name is their neighbor, and that they work at the Fish Sandwich Bar, the fish diner from earlier, my favorite restaurant that has been tainted by the angry guy calling me names for putting trash on the table. I'm devastated. I end the conversation with him and get back to work on getting into their apartment. I knock. No answer. I then check under the door for any signs of life. Nothing. I pick the lock and go inside. Cameras inside. I must be careful. I rush around looking for clues, dodging the lasers of the cameras. I find a camera in a room that I'm able to reach off some furniture and disable it. Searching the room after that, I found a business card. It's the owner of the Fish Diner. This is horrible news for me. My mind races, hoping the Fish Diner stays open after this crime is brought to justice. On the other nightstand, I find some free handcuffs. At least their apartment provided me with some tools for justice. I find a password in the same nightstand and go to the safe. It doesn't work for that, but it works for Carrie's profile on the computer. An old suspect lives with our current suspect. A small world, I guess. I hop off the computer and find papers with important information. Notably, the birthday of Kayomi, her password. I'm able to get into the safe and get on her profile now. But first, I decided to check the front room. I don't really know why. I think I was ready to leave, but there was somebody home now. I leave quickly. I knock on the door after I leave. It happens to be Carrie's. I ask her some questions about Kayomi Jansen. She confirms it's her partner, and that she is at work now. I disregard getting into the safe and onto the computer again. Start making my way towards my favorite restaurant in the city. I start my investigation by asking the rude guy at the counter some questions, but then a woman, who I think is our suspect, walks out of an office. I decided to not ask her questions, but to just look at the employee photos in front of her. It is. I take her fingerprint from her picture to get confirmation that it is hers from the scene. I need to get access to her without other people around, and then pull this epic gamer maneuver. It's super effective. I'm also lying. Right after that, I go and buy a drink and some chicken to satiate myself. I then pulled this one off and it works out a lot better than the previous. I don't know why I was cheesing this one so hard, but I did. Anyway, it worked out. I got her in cuffs and then proceeded to rob the office and go through papers for no good reason. I ask her some questions and she talks about Uncle and Kruger or something like that. So I disregard, figuring she's crazy. I leave, staring back, hoping this place isn't gone after this gets out. I filled out the resolution form and turned it in. A sweeping finish with this case. I check if she's still in the office, but she is gone. Good riddance. Thank you for watching. No, but actually I really do appreciate if you made it this far in the video. I wanted to try something new and different from what I've done in the past, and I think this one turned out really good, and I look forward to hearing feedback. So if there is anything I can do better, let me know. I know a couple of things I need to do, I need to turn off the in-game music so I can add it better for the next one. And also not look at the crumpled notes, because that one gave the second case away super quick. And it wasn't that fun, but I had fun writing the story behind it. I know it was kind of simple, but it was fun. Anyway, thank you again for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.